All right, everyone. Thank you. It's Monday, February 3rd, 2025. Welcome to the He Said, She Said Sports Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Big Red, along with my lovely host, Tony. Hello, Tony.
Hey, Big Red, what's up?
How you doing? We have a special guest with us today. He's a good friend of mine. He lives in the Columbus area. He's a former OSU player, former OSU captain. Played in the NFL for several years. Let's give it up for my brother, Doug Worthington. How are you, Doug?
Bam, hey, blessed and highly favored. Thank you for having me on the show. Been seeing your content, been seeing you push things. I definitely appreciate the opportunity. How you guys doing?
Thank you, brother. Good, good. We're gonna get into it. We're doing good, man. We're gonna get
Yeah.
into we're gonna get into it, but we're gonna talk about the Super Bowl matchup.
Mm.
The Chiefs and the Eagles. What are your perspectives on it? What are your takes on this matchup?
Yeah, man. So unfortunately, I was actually rooting for the completely opposite Super Bowl. Me playing my longest tenure with the Washington Redskins. I was hoping the Commanders got there with a young Jalen Daniels. How sensational he's been. The only time I ever made the playoffs was actually with RG3 his rookie year. We actually won the
Okay.
division, beating Dallas. Woo woo. Don't
I
like the
remember that.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we
Same
actually
here.
played against the Seahawks and they beat us, but was a great experience. So I was definitely rooting for the Redskins on that note. And I'm a Buffalo guy, so I'm from Buffalo, New York,
Yeah, you
born and
from Buffalo,
raised.
yeah.
So Josh Allen, I love how he is in the pocket. I love what type of leader he is on and off the field. He does a lot for the city of Buffalo. My aunt is in radio, so she actually makes money when the Buffalo Bills are playing. So this would have been another 2 weeks of her
Yeah.
bringing in some sponsored dollars. So,
Yeah,
I
we
was
were rooting
hurt.
for Buffalo too, actually.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
was really kind of disturbed the fact that they both lost. I was hoping one of the teams get in, but Philly, I love me a cheesesteak. I'm playing for the Redskins. We've seen Philly twice a year,
Twice, yep.
and I remember back in those days where they actually had my guy Kurt Coleman, and they had my guy
Oh
Brian
yeah,
Rowe,
safety.
B Rowe.
Safety. Yeah.
Yeah,
B
they had
roll
B Rowe, a
linebacker.
5'10", 5'9"
I remember B
linebacker,
roll, yeah.
and he was
Byron.
starting. So I remember being on the sideline. I was on the practice squad at the time with my sweatsuit on, eating sunflower seeds, and I was actually rooting for Philly to a certain extent. So I think B. Rowe, I think Kurt Coleman in that game actually got 3 interceptions from Rex Grossman, which is the reason why
Yeah, Kurt Coleman was nice at
yeah, Kurt
safety.
Coleman was a
Yeah.
beast. He played in Buffalo too. So I
Yeah.
like Philly. I love Saquon Barkley. I actually got to another Ohio guy, Antonio Shelton. Antonio, he called us Valentino, but he played at North. He played at high school. I used to train him in high school. Basically, I trained a bunch of guys. I actually trained Ty Hamilton, who just won a national championship. He's my last Buckeye that I trained because I kind of stopped because it was a lot on my body. But to see the guy Saquon Barkley at Penn State and to see what he's been able to do in the NFL, he is nothing short of remarkable. So I love the fact of hearing stories, him getting cut by New York, them not wanting to pay the man. Running backs is that position. So
Crazy.
to see him be able to have a record-breaking season for the Philadelphia Eagles, almost breaking the record in the NFL, it is truly something cool to watch. I root for Jalen Hurts, his story coming from Oklahoma, being benched and things of that nature. So you got to root
Hmm.
for guys like that. You got to appreciate the magnitude of the platform of the Super Bowl. I'll kind of shed a little bit of light later on. My playing times in the NFL, I always get my Super Bowl tickets, but that's a whole nother story. But to see him make the Super Bowl again and Dallas not even make the divisional championship, I'm super happy to say. And then you got on the other end, you got Mr. State Farm himself. You got the poster board of the NFL. You have a phenomenal team, a guy, Andy Reid, who came from Philadelphia, and they actually beat
Hmm.
Philadelphia as well. And Nick Foles beat them too, so that was a good one. So it's one of those matchups that only Hollywood could write. You always feel like the NFL is pulling strings, but this is exactly what media wanted. The media darling. You look up in the stands and you got Taylor Swift. So the
Yeah.
eyeballs will be on this game, and the fact that they're trying to go for something that's never happened in the NFL with being a three-peat Super Bowl champion. it's a great storyline. So I'm in it for a good game. I don't have really no dog in the fight. I just want to be able to see, 4 hours of entertainment, right? The Super Bowl, you're not going to turn your head away from the Super Bowl because obviously they got $1 million, $2 million, $3 million commercials. They got
Got
performers.
Kendrick at
You got
halftime.
Kendrick at
Yeah.
halftime. You want to know he's gonna bring out if he plays that great old Grammy winning song. So there's so much on this Super Bowl being in New Orleans. It's great for the city of New Orleans. I know they're still coming back from Katrina. And just to know what it means to have a Super Bowl down there and all the festivities and how they do it up there is pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
Doug,
definitely.
you said something off air before. You called yourself an all-pro practice squad
Oh
player.
yeah,
Can you
absolutely. I
talk
was a
a little bit
I
about
call
your
pro
journey?
bowl practice squad player. I say that because again, I mix no bones about it. Playing in the NFL is not for long. I was blessed to technically have 6 seasons. They rolled it all up in 4 because a lot of those was practice squad seasons. I got on IR one year when I was supposed to actually play a little bit when a couple of people in front of me caught some injuries and substance abuse and was suspended for 6 games. So, God is remarkable. He is the center of my life. Jesus has done so much for me. So to know that I got a pension, I got all my benefits, I got everything that an NFL veteran would get by just, playing less than 5 snaps, playing less than 5 real games. I feel like I robbed them blind. I got players that I mentioned that, started for NFL teams for a couple years and were out of the league that don't have the same benefits and the things that I do. Do I think it's fair? No, I think life isn't fair. I think fair is where you, judge the pigs at. But it's one of those things where I do give, my Lord and Savior all the credit for giving me the career that I had because it was a humbling one and it was something that, it kind of is the instill the work that I do today. But as far as practice squad Pro Bowler, I came in, Pittsburgh going against Marquise Pouncey, a #1 draft pick who had a Pro Bowl, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Fame
Hall of
career.
Fame. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
so
think
me and him
too.
was battling all of OTAs, all of camp. So I know I got him better. And then when I made it to the Washington Redskins, they had a silverback dude named Trent Williams that I played against and practiced against
Yeah,
for
Big Trent.
three years. So I know that I was in practice reps that were, harder than some games when it came down to blocking that big guy and to know what he has done to the league and done for the league, is remarkable. So I backed up. I came in Pittsburgh, roommates with Antonio Brown, seeing his transition, seeing how great he was and how in love to the game he was, and knowing that we all as athletes
Yeah,
is not if you get hurt, but when you get hurt. Seeing some of the big hits that he's taken, the one in Cincinnati, and knowing that he was never the same after that. I really have a soft spot for my fellow NFL veterans, and I'm really just happy that I got out the game the way that I did with most of my stuff intact, even though I do have some disabilities. But God is good. I got to again AB. I got to come into the NFL with, and then my last few years of playing, I backed up AD Aaron Donald. So to see those two remarkable players and be able to be in the same locker room and share the same quarters as those, I've seen what excellence was. I've seen what it is to be a student of the game. I've seen people who will outwork you and won't let you because of the motor and the things that they have in their mind. So
definitely.
it
Yeah.
is a powerful thing to be able to look back in hindsight and be able to be really appreciative of that short-lived but blessing of a career of mine.
No,
That's
definitely. You named a
awesome.
couple players. You named a couple players for sure that had some runs. Antonio Brown had a run
Oh
like
yeah,
no other at that
yeah.
receiver position, and Aaron Donald. I mean, he speaks for himself for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, two gold jackets. I hope
Yeah, they
they
definitely.
don't do nothing wrong to my guy AB, but obviously AD is considered the
AD's,
best
yeah,
defensive player ever. So it's a sure end.
yeah, yeah. He's assuring in a couple years for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely.
What do you
Yeah,
think? Speaking of
speaking of the
defensive
future
ends,
household names here, guys, we've got big names in our Super Bowl matchup coming up next week. And I think the big question for on everybody's mind is how do the Eagles disrupt the inertia, the momentum that this Kansas City Chiefs team and all of its surrounding fandom and if you're in on that, the officials or whatnot,
I can
all
speak
of
on
this
that.
momentum that they have, how do the Eagles go in and disrupt it?
I'm gonna speak on that being an Eagles fan, Doug. I don't know if you know that, but I was an Eagles fan. But
There you go. I like it.
yeah, yeah. But no, what I think the Eagles are more prepared, far as team wise, than a couple years ago. Because Kansas City, with their offense, they usually do those gadget plays. They usually get a little gadgety creative every time they're in the Super Bowl. And I think now with the Eagles and them young corners like Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Darius Slay's been playing well. I think them on the back end, Reed Blankenship, those guys are going to be locking up, playing better. Zach Bond even plays well at linebacker and pass coverage too. So I think they'll be able to not necessarily say shut down the Chiefs, but they'll be able to compete with those guys and make it hard on them and not limit the big plays for them. You know what I mean? And then on offense, obviously having Saquon is a big factor for those guys. A great offensive line as well. It's a couple key injuries they still don't know about yet on the offensive line. So, but it's all about, to me, it's all about Jalen Hurts, how well he plays. I think Saquon is going to get his for the most part, but I think it's going to come up to Jalen Hurts to be up to Jalen Hurts to determine whether or not they'll win. I think he needs to have a big game for sure.
You talk about
opinion.
Saquon Barkley, though, in this, and I know you said Jalen Hurts might be the key there, but Saquon Barkley, phenomenal season. He's having a historic playoff run like we've never seen before from a running back. But on the flip side, on Kansas City side, Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator, in his 18 playoff games, he has never allowed for a 100-yard rusher. Saquon Barkley, he basically has 100 yards coming off the bus.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
It's going to be a something's got to give situation. But I think that Spags is going to have stuff in store for Saquon. I think he's going to make sure that he adds that additional defender in the front so that they can cover Barkley.
And I agree.
That definitely takes some stuff away, though, from the Chiefs' standard defense. They play a lot of that split safety shells. It's going to take away from that. They are definitely going to have more bodies in the box, meaning more man-free coverage, more 3-deep zone coverage.
It's going to be up to Jalen Hurts
because they're going to have to cut off
have a big game for sure
and the run with Saquon Barkley. So Jalen Hurts definitely has weapons if he has to throw, but I do think that Steve Spagnuolo is going to have a lot in store to make sure that they prevent the Saquon Barkley run. You can put the DNs out in a wide 9, wide 7 technique. He's going to try to cut that off and make it harder for Philly to kind of crack and pin the inside. So it's going to make it harder for Saquon to get on the outside. There's a lot that he can do there defensively. And the one thing I've always praised the Chiefs on is their ability to game plan around the other team.
Definitely. When the Chiefs have time to game plan, they're definitely a dangerous team. I'll give them credit for that, especially Spagnuolo for sure.
Well, tell me on the flip side, Big Red, because I also another real interesting stat here. Patrick Mahomes has faced Vic Fangio's defense 8 times and is 8-0 against him. 8 times he has spent a week trying to figure out how to stop Mahomes, and he has not done it yet. So please give me the key to this game.
I'm gonna give you the key to this game for sure. They're definitely going to have to slow down the Chiefs' big plays. They're going to have to force the Chiefs to make long drives and, make them be a more third and long behind third and long than third and shorts. Those are going to kill the Eagles all the game. And I think they can do it. They got the number 1 defense in the league for a reason. And they've stepped up and played well against a lot of pass offenses. They're top in the NFL in pass defense as well. So, if anybody's up for the challenge, it's going to be Philly. Which is going to make it a great game, in my opinion.
It's interesting because you mentioned limiting big plays, and that has been something that the Chiefs have struggled with this year. I would say they've got this wide receiver core of Xavier Worthy, D-Hop, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and none of them have been able to consistently shake free of coverage. I feel like each one of them has kind of stepped up and had a big game here or there.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lack of big plays. I think a lot of the game plan is going to be surrounding the tight ends and quarter pass plays. So if the Eagles are limiting those big plays and forcing some third and longs, that's definitely going to be a big key for them. I mean, I
Yeah,
think Brown
definitely.
and Smith-Schuster
It's just
really
about
helped without a
turnovers.
catch against the Texans in their playoff game against the Texans. So it's possible, you know.
Yeah. And it's also going to matter about who turns the ball over more too, obviously, you know. I'm not going to get into the whole penalties thing, you know. But
You got to get into that. That's the
yeah, wait,
topic.
Doug, tell us from the insider
talk to me,
perspective. How do
Doug.
you
We got to
How
get
do you
into
feel
it.
about this narrative right now that the Chiefs have the refs in their pocket?
I
I
think they
mean,
do, though.
you have to appreciate numbers don't lie. The NFL is all about numbers, all about ratings and things of that nature. The Chiefs bring and travel better than most NFL teams, and then when it comes down to having Taylor Swift in a box, that brings another bunch of fandom. So with that being said, I'm not gonna shy away from the idea of the refs understanding the magnitude of certain people getting in. But you know, these refs are lawyers and judges and doctors. They have other full-time jobs,
Them,
and they also get ratings and they get judged by their peers. So the people who are at the Super Bowl are the top of the top that have some of the highest ratings and have integrity. So I would hope that I would just say we got to appreciate how good Andy Reid uh, team is ran and how they're a little bit less penalized. And Steve Spagnuolo, as you guys mentioned, does
a
some of the
lot
most
of it.
exotic blitzes and make sure that he keeps the offensive line and the offensive coordinator on their toes. So they're two well-trained coordinators in the Chiefs, and they've been around for a long time. They know what they're doing. They have a lot of experience, not only in the playoffs, but obviously Super Bowls. So they know what to expect, and they know how to get their team to play on some very, very high levels, and they don't get penalized for a lot of the small, dumb things. They get to the huddle. They don't do a lot of 15 yards, yapping and talking. And when they understand as a team they have a particular goal, they seem like they're just flying and moving to that target. So they're a hard team to compete with. I mean, they had a streak of maybe like 9 games of winning by less than 3 points. So
3 points,
they
yeah.
know how to get the game won. They know not how to beat themselves, and it's hard to beat a team like that.
I mean,
And
that to me is
they always get the close calls too. They always get the 50-50 calls. They always get the majority of those, which
Yeah,
is
they got a couple
like you
against
said.
my squad.
Yeah, the
they
Buffalo Bills,
capitalize
those were
on their close.
terrible calls. Like we
Yeah, there
talked
were a
about
couple
that
of
last
questionable
week.
calls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think for me, though, ultimately at the end of the day, like as much as I would like to see the Eagles win this game, I'm not a Kansas City fan by any means. It is hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. He is so,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
good. He's got a 17-3 record in the playoffs, 9 straight playoff wins, looking for a three-peat. I don't know how to bet against him, unfortunately. I just think that he is, and you know, he gets a lot of crap, but he is so good, and he
Yeah,
gets
no,
it done in the
definitely.
big moments.
No, definitely. He is the factor for them for sure. Because you know, they got some decent receivers like D Hop, he's good, but he's up there in age, you know, Worthy. He's inconsistent at times, but he has his moments as well. And then, you know, Travis Kelsey is Travis Kelsey. So,
I have a
you know,
feeling they'll rely on his legs.
I think the key for one of the keys for the Chiefs, their run game. They're gonna if they run the ball, if they're able to run the ball against Philly's defense, that'll help them tremendously be able to open up the offense. So I think that's going to be a key too.
What's crazy
Definitely.
is their run game too. They mix it up so much. I mean, think about that game against the Bills. That last run play that went to Pirine. You never know who they're going to utilize, what the game plan is going to look like. It involves so
Yeah.
many different pieces. And at the end of the day, you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey. Mahomes on his legs, he can run the ball, and Travis Kelsey is looking like playoff Kelsey each game further into the playoffs that we go.
Yeah.
I don't know how you bet against him, unfortunately.
No, definitely. Doug, what's your prediction score for the Super Bowl? Who you got? I
Man,
think
that's a great question.
last week me and her gave our prediction. I think I had Eagles 24-20
That's good.
winning. I don't remember your score, Tony, what you had.
I think I said it was gonna be similar to that Bills game, kind of like
Yeah, like
high 20s, low
32-29.
30s. I think it's gonna be a
Yeah.
little higher scoring than you said, kind of maybe more like a 34-31 situation. Very close.
Yeah.
Yeah, just seeing
So,
what Philly was able to do, hanging 55 points on a still battered Washington Redskins team. Commanders team. I know that they have the power. You know, talking about Andy Reid and his play calling abilities, having to keep up with Saquon is going to be, in my opinion, a higher scoring game. I haven't even thought about who I think is going to win. This is really like putting me out there. So if I had to kind of like really trying to cultivate the who's better here, have to give the edge far as quarterback to Patrick Mahomes. Like you said, you cannot bet against him, but that running game can win you a championship. So Saquon, if they do right by him, I think a great defense is really a great running game. So I think the Eagles having the running game, I'm going to side with the Eagles. I'm going to go 42 Philadelphia, and I'm going to say it's going to be 37, a late game, late score for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to go with Philly as well. And I say that because I think Saquon doing and finishing this season off will be the MVP and will kind of carry Jalen Hurts. I feel like they're going to try to put another person in the box, and I feel like Jalen will be able to get some pass offs and get that Jones and Johnson tandem going, and really just put the Kansas City kind of on their heels. I love Slay. I feel like he's going to make a play in the back end. I think the wide receivers for Kansas City are kind of mid. Their best wide receiver is a rookie. So I really feel like with Philadelphia being a number one defense, I love Philadelphia's defensive line. I was a Brian Cox fan for years. What he was able
Brian
to do.
Cox is that guy.
Yeah, he was amazing. But now they got the big dude from Bama. I mean, they got the big dude from Georgia, and then they got the other cat. Are they both from Georgia?
Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Yeah, they're both from Georgia.
Again, young boys making big plays, really disruptors in there. I feel like they're going to cause Kansas City a little bit of problems, even though I think Kansas City line is the best that Patrick Mahomes had in all of his Super Bowls. But it really is going to come down to that run game. Only thing that can kind of mess that up is if turnovers play a big factor, which I can't see happening. These are two very, very well-coached teams that understand the moment. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, low turnovers, but I do think Philadelphia is going to be able to play a little bit more of their ball with Saquon being as dynamic as he is and ripping off some good big plays.
Yeah, when you talk it through, Doug, I think it's really interesting how many more notable players there are on this Eagles team and how good this Eagles team really is. Coming into the game, when you look at the names, you would almost think it's hard to root for the Chiefs in this one. We've seen it happen before. We've seen the 18-0 Patriots get taken down by the Giants team that should never have beat them, let's be honest. And
that barely made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, it can be done, and it can be done with way worse teams than this Eagles team, which is stacked. So I'm with you guys. I really hope to see an Eagles win.
Well, I'm hoping for it. It's actually on my birthday too, so
there you go.
That'll be a hell of a birthday gift.
Yeah, no. We're definitely up for a phenomenal game. I mean, I think I butchered their name, but like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and even Dotson, they have a great wide receiver core that if Jalen Hurts can play some of the flashes that he showed the year before, I don't think obviously Jalen has had the game passing as much as he has before, and he's even went to the media saying that he's kind of in a straitjacket, meaning maybe the offensive coordinator is not letting him rip as much. But at the end of the day, when you have a dynamic player like Saquon Barkley who can take over in game at any point, you have to lean on your horses. And that's why I give my edge to the Eagles just because of that particular factor and Mahomes not having his best statistical year. You don't know really exactly what you're going to get. And if it's going to be one of them games where they think they can pull it out in the end being close, when you have a run game that can get 4 to 6 yards every play easy, it's going to be a hard one. But we're in for a good game, man. We're in for a good game, a great show. I'm excited for it.
No, definitely. Some more NFL news. Miles Garrett up in Cleveland requesting a trade. How do you feel about that, Tony?
That's huge. Miles Garrett is arguably the defensive player of the year. I mean, did he get that? Was he the defensive player of the year?
He has been. Not
he has been before. They haven't gave it out yet.
Okay, they haven't given it out yet. But I think again, he's up for it now. I mean, he is definitely
I think he won it last year.
He's number 1 or number 2 when it comes down to disruption. I know he's probably number 4 or 5 when it comes down to sacks, but that's because teams obviously know where he's at and they're really game planning against him. So the fact that he wants out of Cleveland is not good. I don't know anybody that is just obviously match to match and could be able to, come and make the same impact as him. It's going to be obviously them getting a couple players for a guy of his caliber and probably a first rounder or two. So, Cleveland, they definitely should hear him out and kind of try to rebuild that defense around Ward because they still got some solid pieces. But, when the big guy's asking to leave, man, you got to kind of appreciate what he's already given to the brand and the fact that you haven't had anybody to take him, anywhere close to some playoff contention. Players want to win. Players want to make some playoff money and build that legacy. So he's definitely due for it, and I'm excited to see what that free agent market look like for him.
Definitely.
I do think that he wants to play meaningful football.
Right.
Wherever that is, right? But it's also very interesting because the Browns GM, Andrew Berry, he was down at the Senior Bowl earlier this week. He literally said, I am not trading him. I'm not entertaining trades for Miles Garrett. He is going to be a Brown for his entire career. We're going to make sure that happens. So I wonder if that was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back and Miles Garrett finally said, I'm going to go public and publicly request this trade and put that out there. Or because his contract, he's now in the last 2 years of his contract, which are non-guaranteed money, if maybe this is a play for contract negotiation.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I'm going to just say like this. Miles Garrett has been patient. I mean, if you look at the fans, they're not even mad at the fact that he's requesting a trade because if you think about it, a couple years ago, Cleveland had decent teams. They made playoff runs, and all they were missing was just a decent quarterback at play. They made the playoffs a couple years ago with Joe Flacco. So, he's been patient throughout the years and has held his tongue about being traded. And, now he's coming to the point in his career where he wants to play meaningful football, like you stated before. He wants to play for a playoff Super Bowl contender. So, he's got a couple years left on his contract. They're saying they're not going to trade him, but with him coming out publicly, I think that's going to kind of change things as far as them, getting offers from teams,
right?
Things like that. So,
this is the time to do it. I mean, you got the Super Bowl. You still got some time before the drafts and the time before, scouting combines and things of that nature. So to be able to know that you got to replace a pass rusher like him and maybe can get a couple early picks.
Definitely.
You definitely, as a GM, you got to be able to be mindful and think ahead and make sure that you secure your football team and your job, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're not getting what you can for a guy like Miles Garrett, that could set your whole entire franchise back. So, he's actually doing them a favor, telling them like, hey, let me figure out what's out there in the market. As Tony said, the fact of the matter is you're not having any guaranteed money, and the NFL is not for long. It is not about getting hurt, but when you get hurt, what type of significant injury it is. So he would like to be able to be reconstructed if he was somehow to stay in Cleveland and make, bigger bread earlier. And he's definitely deserving and rightfully so. So we have, as we do in the NFL every offseason, a little bit of drama up in Cleveland. That franchise is one of them franchises that haven't even seen the light of day of a Super Bowl. So the fans are some of the most loyal people. And I hope that they get some decent, draftees because not a lot of people in free agency wants to go up and play in Cleveland. Cleveland is not the sexiest city. It is not a great city weather-wise. So it's one of those things where, get them while they're young, get them while you can, and
what is Deshaun
try to
Watson
retain those guys.
What is Deshaun Watson going to be?
He might not even play next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Yeah, it's like it's crazy. So I don't blame him, man. They didn't have a good plan going into it. Obviously, with paying him that much money guaranteed, Deshaun Watson, that is. 230 million.
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes down to landing those big free agents, you got to put that dollar out there. And when you talked about Deshaun Watson at the time when they grabbed him, he was the hottest thing smoking. So you were going to pay premium dollar to get him up there. And the fact that his agent got it all the way guaranteed, I think it was a black lady too, more kudos and more power to her. It is a tough sport, the NFL. It is not for everybody. And everybody knows that the game is going to be going a lot longer than we're going to all be able to play. So you got to make your money while it lasts. And in a position like quarterback,
I'm
have
not mad at him for getting his money for sure.
Oh yeah, you can't be.
You can't be. It's just about the performing. That's
that's
what I'm
tough.
talking about. the performing
Staying healthy,
and now
yes.
the injuries, and now
The
it's the
best
injuries.
the best ability is
You know what I mean?
availability, and the
So
fact that he
yeah.
hasn't been available and he hasn't looked like much, it's saying a lot. It's saying a lot. So,
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, good luck to you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Also, your Ohio State alum, but what you think about the news about Chip Kelly
Yeah, I
going to
mean,
the Las
you
Vegas Raiders?
you got both coordinators, leaving.
Leaving, yeah.
That's what it is, and again, I'm so happy that the players have a better opportunity to leave than we did, because I know there's a lot of players that I played
Uh-huh.
with that had better opportunities if they had the opportunities of a portal. So with that being said, go do your thing, and they gave them enough time to search and get the right person to fit the bill. But Ohio State is Ohio State, and the coordinators both leaving, might mess up a little bit of the synergy, but you got some real good ball players out there that want to be able to show these NFL teams and the world their talents. So they're getting back to it now. I mean, they have workouts, they have the gym open.
I think
So
they got enough of their core coaches there too to still help overcome that, like the Brian Hartlines and the Larry
yeah.
Johnsons.
Yep, James
So
Laurinaitis is, yeah. They
yeah,
they
yeah,
have they have they have some real considerable coaches, but all of those guys are getting phone calls. You never know what
as
this
well.
offseason could look like for them. So
Hmm.
the name of the game is obviously it's a business. The NFL is one, but now the NCAA, if it's even the NCAA anymore, is an entirely different beast than when I played. So to see these guys making money in the magnitude that they are and getting sponsorships and using their NIL and being able to portal out to another opportunity is brilliant. So
Yeah,
these coaches are doing what they've always done. They've always
always done. Yeah,
ran after the dollar, ran after other opportunities. So
and
it
players
makes it
were
a little
stuck.
bit, yeah,
Yeah.
it makes it a little bit more of an even playing field. And hey, I seen one of their biggest D linemen go to Texas. A kid that
Yeah, Canoe.
yeah,
Canoe. Yeah.
yeah. So to see him, just beat Texas a couple games ago, and then be able to go take visits to other schools, it's free agency. So
Yeah.
everybody's up, everybody
And
contracts.
then
Who has the money? Show me the
he
bag.
literally has to play Ohio State the first game next
First
year.
game of the
So
season.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna
It's
be
crazy.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Meanwhile, I'm just loving the idea of Vegas, man. I think that's such a good landing spot for him.
No, definitely with him and Pete Carroll out there. He's definitely I wouldn't blame him. I mean, they gave him $6 million per year too, which made him one of the highest paid coordinators
I just have
in the
to say,
NFL.
what a landing spot for Shador Sanders if that's where he ends up.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
definitely.
I think it very well could be. I mean, think about that team now with those coaches, with Max Crosby, with Brock Bowers, and then you
Hmm.
add Shador Sanders to that mix. You go out, you get a wide receiver in free agency, bring somebody in. It's, Tom Brady is in the ownership group of that team. And so I just think that's such a good
Hmm.
landing spot for Shador Sanders, who has been doubted by many. Not me. I do not doubt that boy for 1 second. He is NFL ready, in my opinion. Just from what I know
Yeah, for
and from
sure.
what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great landing spot for him. I think they have the sixth pick, I believe. So if he falls, which I think his stock has kind of, I don't know that everybody needs a quarterback right now and that everybody wants a quarterback out of this draft. So if he does end up with the Raiders, I think that's a win-win for the team and for Sanders as well.
No, definitely, definitely. We're gonna kind of do a switcheroo right here.
The
Let's talk
news that
about the
shook the world this
yeah,
week.
Mhm.
the NBA. We got some NBA news. Obviously, Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. There was a three-way trade with the Mavs, Lakers, and Jazz. But obviously, the big news was about Luka Doncic going to the LA, Anthony Davis going to the Mavericks. Uh, what's your take on that, Doug? How you feel about that?
Man, it was. I definitely thought it was clickbait when I first seen it. To know what Luca has been at this early age of his stage. I mean, the guy was playing professional ball at 13, so he
Hmm.
is a phenomenal talent who is really just hitting his peak. So for the Lakers to land that, and for what they got, I mean, I love Anthony Davis. Obviously, we've somewhat considered him Mr. Glassman because he always gets injured. But the last
Yeah.
couple years, he's had some of his, more healthier season. So to understand that the Lakers are not really were contenders, but now they are contenders, it's phenomenal. I am a Bron fan through and through. Actually played with one of his best friends Shion Cotton at Ohio State, so got to meet him a couple times. And to see what he's done in his legacy, it gives him another pep in his step.
Shion
Another
Cotton, he
guy.
went to St. Vincent St. Mary, didn't he?
Yeah, yep.
Okay,
He
that's what I
played with
thought.
him.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
so to be able to see what Bron is doing, to see what the landscape of LA is going on, it's a different time in history and so much in America. But the Lakers being as dominant as they are, Boston, coming off their championship, it's kind of like the whole playing field is kind of getting right. Even New York is kind of being more competitive. So the NBA is pulling for a big stretch, when it comes down to playoff time, because I think their ratings are really, really down when it comes down to the regular season. That's why they have all these new makeup, almost bowl games and different series to get the fans to be more interested. So, it's definitely front page news. And I feel for Dallas, man. Dallas, I've seen people,
Do you?
having a memorial for Luka outside of the
Yeah,
stadium and asking for
yeah.
Nash's, head on a platter, and even looking at some of the conferences between him and Jason Kidd, it didn't seem like the body language was saying that everybody was all in. So I don't know what his idea of trading a guy like him away. Maybe some things that we don't know. I know they said something about his conditioning, something about his work ethic, that he was a little bit heavy. But you guys just left a championship. You guys were in the finals. So to be able to come off a team and to give one of them big pieces away, the biggest piece, I mean, arguably one of the top 3 young players in the NBA is mind blowing. So maybe they know so much more than I do. Maybe that first rounder that he's getting, he feels like he can put something in place. But you got a 31 or 32-year-old Anthony Davis a little bit later on in his career. You let a 25, almost 26-year-old phenom go that the fans
Yeah.
just loved and adored. So it's confusing. It's definitely stirring up the pot. It's almost given the Super Bowl an entire back seat. I think that's been on everybody's
Yeah, definitely,
airwaves. It's just
100%. Yeah.
everybody's airwaves is just
What you think,
that
Tony?
trade.
This trade was so crazy to me because, like you said, I mean, Luka is essentially in his prime. He led the NBA in scoring last year. He finished 3rd in the MVP voting. He led his team to an NBA Finals appearance. The Lakers are landing Luka in his prime without exhausting their supply of draft picks. I think this is huge for the Lakers, not just now figuring out how to play with LeBron, because I do actually think it's going to be a learning curve because it does displace both LeBron and Austin Reeves as the primary ball handler now. And so it'll be even more exciting for the Lakers' future. Since LeBron is getting older, they now have a young superstar as well. So if they can learn to play together now, that's great in the short term for the Lakers, but also long term, they now have a star. So that's a huge win for the Lakers. I think the Mavericks lose big in this one. I wonder where they think they're going with maybe these draft picks or what they're doing. I don't know if they're just deciding to rebuild. I have no idea. I mean, I couldn't even come up with a comparison for what this trade is.
I'm gonna tell you why I like this trade,
NFL
though.
terms are what the closest comparison that I've seen, and I don't know if either of you guys will understand this one because this is so white girl 2000s 20 something little millennial me, but it is essentially like if One Direction and NSYNC decided to make a trade, Harry Styles for Justin Timberlake. It's like it just doesn't make sense, and it just disrupts.
Dang, you made that comparison? That's crazy.
It was the closest comparison that I could even.
Hey,
that is crazy.
Hey, that's crazy. But no, let me tell you why I like it. That's a crazy comparison.
But it's kind of the same thing if you think about it. It's like
for sure.
2 stars, one in their prime, one's a little bit older, and you kind of just swap them out, and you're questioning why either team wants to do that.
I like the trade, right? I just don't like how Mavs GM did the trade. He didn't talk to Jason Kidd about the trade. He obviously it was kept under wraps, but I do think that I understand where he's trying to go. I don't know what the whole mix-up was as far as Luka not being in shape, the whole weight regimen thing. I'm not sure what that was about. I mean,
he
you
looked
look at
in
the
shape
stats,
getting off the plane.
they speak for itself. You know what I mean? They speak for itself. He's an all NBA player, one of the top 3 players in the league. Like you said, 25, about to turn 26 years old. But I mean, if you look at it, I think there was bad blood there, apparently. from last year. That's just my opinion. I don't have any sources, but that's just my opinion. I think there was bad blood there. And so that the GM was always trying to figure out a way to get rid of Luka. And now he brought in a big man to play with Kyrie. And it's not, don't get me wrong, Luka's not there. It makes a big difference, but I do like the trade. It makes more sense. Anthony Davis can go down to his 4 position now where he wants to play. He doesn't want to play a 5. And, he could play with Kyrie, and Kyrie's no slouch. You've seen what he did last year to help them get to the finals as well. Obviously, when Luka was there and when Luka was hurt, Kyrie led that team. So I think it was good for them all. But for the Lakers, obviously, it was great for them. They're setting up their future with LeBron James going to be gone whenever he decides. But now they don't have to worry about where to go next after LeBron. They already have that there, and they can draft young and pick up players young and put the pieces around the team and around Luka that best fit. As far as him and LeBron, they both touch the ball a lot. So there's going to be some sacrifice in there between those two guys figuring that out. They both touch the ball a lot. They're both great passers, and control the game. So. But I like the moves. It was good on the Lakers for their future, and like you said, they didn't give up all their draft stock. So and for the Mavs as well, they add a defensive piece, which they were saying Luka didn't help with playing defense on the defensive side. So it kind of works out for them all. And hopefully Luka's back from that calf injury soon. And I'm pretty sure Dallas plays the Lakers here sometime this month, I heard too. So that'll be an interesting matchup. But also
I ever heard it.
yeah. There was another trade too as well. If it wasn't for the Luka trade, this probably would have been top news in the NBA for sure. You got De'Aaron Fox from the Sacramento Kings, point guard, headed to the Spurs in the 3-way trade with the Spurs, Kings, and the Bulls. Zach LaVine from the Bulls goes to the Kings. And then you have De'Aaron Fox with the Spurs. You have a few other players that Chicago picked up, and Chicago picked up a first-round draft pick in next year's draft too as well. So what's your opinion on that one, Tony?
I mean, I agree with you, man. If the Luka news hadn't dropped, I think this would have been much bigger news. But honestly, I don't even have much to say about it. For real, like it's not the biggest news of the week.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But I think it's a good move for the Spurs,
right?
Adding De'Aaron Fox for sure with Wembley. That's gonna be a good. That's automatically gonna make them one of the best pick and roll teams in the league. And with Chris Paul there too to help out, I think that's going to be better for them too. What you think, Doug?
No, definitely. You hit the nail on the coffin when it came down to getting younger in the backcourt for the Spurs. Somebody that Wembley can grow with, and then you got Chris Paul in the wings being almost a mentor. Him almost out the door. So Popovich, you're going to run by trades with Popovich. So I feel like that definitely is a front office that people can learn from. And to be able to give up a first rounder. LaVine is a phenomenal young player as well.
Yeah,
I don't know how he meshes up with the people as far as the Kings, but they're a young team too. So I would love to see what the Bulls got, or maybe what the Bulls think is going to become from that first round pick. I guess LaVine wasn't the star power, like obviously the Rose that they just gave Derrick Rose and retiring his number. So they want to be able to get some new blood in there because that's a really franchise NBA team. So it's interesting. It's interesting. But I do like what Wembley has now. Somebody that he can grow with, somebody that is very lights out. He got his first signature shoe with Steph Curry. It's not too bad looking either, even though I'm not going to put no Under Armours on my feet. But, to have a guy who's exciting as he is, go and be, trained by Popovich and having Chris Paul be in the wings, and then a phenomenal guy who's only growing and getting better in Wembley. The Spurs is definitely gear up for some runs in the next few years.
No, definitely. Zach LaVine, teams back up with DeMar DeRozan. They were in Chicago together, which is crazy. They
Oh, that's nice.
team
Yeah,
back
that's
up in
good.
Sacramento. So, we'll see
That
what they
always
can do
helps.
out. Yeah, they see what they can do out here. And as far as the Bulls go, the Bulls, they're just looking to reload and rebuild, in my opinion. I think Lonzo Ball is probably the next one to go on the trading block for them. But yeah, they finally now are in control of like their next few first round draft picks. So I think they're gonna be trying to go young, man. My opinion.
I mean, that's the name of the game. With all these circuits, all these different leagues, and now it's different when it comes down to AAU and even prep school for basketball. They have entire leagues that take high school kids out of and pay them. So, there's a lot
Yeah,
of talent out there. Obviously, the overseas market. You never know when you'll get another Luka or another Wembley out of the blue, just you never heard of, that just comes and takes the NBA by storm. But there's a lot of talent. And like you said, the Bulls being the franchise that they are with all the championships, obviously the Michael Jordan, and even the great stint they had with Derrick Rose, they had a lot of exciting basketball, and they haven't been
hmm
that yet. They kind of been the doormat, and they haven't been, that team that people knew they were in the East. So should be
yeah,
interesting, and I hope the best for even Ball for that matter. Him having a bad knee fracture and
yeah. He
being able to
came
play a
back.
little bit
Yeah,
more coming back. So I hope they don't really have any room or any real just solid. You can't really trade him. It's almost like one of those things where nobody's going to give you really what he is kind of worth if he gets healthy again. So that's an interesting thing.
hmm yeah. No, definitely. Um, no, man. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you coming on to the show,
Absolutely.
man, on your busy schedule, taking your time out. Me and Tony definitely. Um, you got anything to say to the people or anything like that before you
Hey
go?
man, you too. Just keep on growing, keep on, learning the game, keep on, getting more versed with each other. You run a great show. I appreciate you giving me a chance to be on your platform. Very, very fun. I hope your fans and your subscribers tune in and tell people and share, because that's what it's all about, man. Sports is something that brings us all together. It unifies us all. It's synonymous with life. So it is fun to talk sports. So thank you again for having me on. And anytime you need me, just give me a holler.
All
Appreciate
right, for
you
sure,
coming on,
brother.
man.
You already know I
Absolutely.
appreciate you, brother.
Indeed.
Take
Ken,
it
you have a
easy.
good one.
Let's talk a little WNBA college basketball. There was 222s that got retired yesterday.
Oh my gosh. What a day yesterday was. Despite the fact that we had no real NFL. We had the Pro Bowl, which I also tuned into and we can touch on a little bit later, but
Mm-hmm.
basketball was in full swing, and both Asia Wilson and Caitlin Clark both got their number 22 jerseys retired. Wilson at South Carolina and Caitlin Clark at Iowa. And
Mm-hmm.
both of those really special moments, to see Asia Wilson with Dawn Staley and those moments that they've had together, super sentimental for me and for the age of basketball that we're in. Watching Caitlin Clark get her jersey hung from the rafters while they listed every single accolade she accumulated during her
Yeah.
college career,
Long
culminating
list.
in the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, was
Mm-hmm.
just pure magic. And I couldn't help but get a little bit emotional watching it. To see that, to me, is the culmination of where women's basketball and where women's college basketball has gotten to now at this
Yeah.
point. And watching her family just be in awe of her in that moment, all of her past teammates coming back, and then to top it all off, Iowa decides they're just going to go out
We're
there
gonna
and they're
beat in
going to beat
USC.
USC,
Yeah. Number 4 ranked team with Juju
taking them
Watkins. Beat
down.
her.
That Caitlin Clark magic was just in the arena
It
again.
was yeah.
Feel it in like Carver Hawkeye, even through the screen, and it was just spectacular. And just congratulations to both of those amazing women and amazing basketball players on having their jerseys retired.
Yeah,
Nobody
no,
else will ever
definitely.
wear number 22 at South
Yeah, no.
Carolina or at Iowa. And that's
Yeah,
special.
no, definitely. I want to say Asia Wilson, she was like 3-time SEC Player of the Year,
Yeah.
uh, 4-time All-American. Just crazy. Both of them girls, just crazy stats, crazy legends for
Absolutely
sure.
crazy. And
I'm
now,
gonna
if
let you.
again, if that Luka trade hadn't happened, the WNBA
Yeah,
might have been the biggest news of the week.
biggest news. Yeah,
WNBA has been
striking.
They have been all over the place. I told you that Unrivaled was going to spark some crazy trades, and it absolutely has. Now, the NBA really said, hold my beer.
Yeah.
We're going to announce this Luka trade and just drag you all through the mud. But wild stuff is happening in the WNBA. I mean, the Connecticut Sun have literally lost all 5 of their starters from last year. They will all be playing for new teams in 2025. That's insane. Brittany Griner is going to the Atlanta Dream. She's leaving Phoenix and going to the Dream. I mean, I never in my life did I think that would happen. The Phoenix Mercury, you got to think that Diana Taurasi is done because, again, leaving left and right.
Yeah.
But there was a
Taurasi's a legend too, but yeah, no, I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if she decides that she's going to announce her retirement, I'm probably going to mourn it, personally, and just take some time off to grieve that. I did the same for Sue Bird. So.
Yeah.
But there's just major stuff going on. There was a huge 4-team trade between the Mercury, the Dallas Wings, the Indiana Fever, and Connecticut, where Dallas got Dejanay Carrington from Connecticut, Nylissa Smith from Indy, which is, I mean, they're trading away a first overall pick.
Yeah, a lot of first overall picks.
They're getting the number 12 pick for 2025 and some rights to swap. Phoenix is getting Satu Sabali and Kalani Brown and Alyssa Thomas. And Indiana is getting Sophie Cunningham from the Mercury. They're getting the number 19 pick this year. Connecticut's getting JC Sheldon, Rebecca Allen, Natasha Cloud from Phoenix. This is
crazy,
a wild trade that's happening, and I think it improves all of these teams, and it's just crazy news. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the Sun got rid of literally all of their starters. Alyssa Thomas is joining Satu Sabali in Phoenix. DeWanna Bonner signing a 1-year deal with the Indiana Fever. Natasha Howard is going to the Indiana Fever, and Courtney Vandersloot. I think for the most part, all these teams are making all these major trades, right? And then
you mentioned Brianna Jones, right? I thought you did. Yeah, I think you did. Yeah,
your 2 finals teams that you had this year, they really have remained relatively untouched, except for Courtney Vandersloot is leaving the New York Liberty and is going back to the Chicago Sky. And I feel like for her, that's just, I'm going back to my hometown. I didn't get as much. I want to chip with the Liberty. I'm not getting the same time that I was getting. I'm going to go back to my hometown. I'm going to be a star before I retire, kind of thing.
Yeah, I heard Angel Reese was trying to recruit some players to the Sky, but it wasn't working out too well. I mean, that's just what I heard. But
I mean, it's just crazy. Think about how much shakeup is going on in a majority of the teams across the league. It's crazy. And then you've got a whole brand new team coming in as well that's going to have to draft and make some trades potentially. So huge news. I mean, lots of drama. I told you that Unrivaled was going to bring this drama. It's going to bring
You did. And it definitely is, for sure. Like you said, those girls can kind of be like their own spokesman and get out there and kind of, see who they want to play with or what makes sense. So definitely, it's causing a lot of buzz. Is there anything you want to touch on? Because I got something to touch on, definitely.
No, you go ahead. I'm excited to see how the W continues to shake out. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, or 2, I should say, Brittany Griner to the Dream. I think and the Mercury being involved in these trades. I think that's very telling for Diana Taurasi's career. And then I'm really excited to see the future now of the Phoenix Mercury with Satu Sabali and Alyssa Thomas. That's gonna be kind of awesome. So future ahead for the Mercury. I think maybe fans probably panicked a little bit, but it looks like they've got some good pieces coming in. And then the last piece of news came in today. The Vegas Aces are signing Liz Kitley to a rookie scale contract. Now, she was out all of last year with a torn ACL. I think it's interesting that they signed her because she should be back this year. And be
back healthy,
start playing again. But I think as a forward, it'll be cool to have a young forward playing with Asia Wilson, right? And learning from her and growing with her. And I feel like for the Aces, maybe this is a potential future for their program, because Liz Kitley was phenomenal in college. She played for Virginia Tech. She was a spectacular forward, and she could be a really instrumental piece that I think people forget about because she's been out all season. And, you know,
Yeah.
you're not playing, people forget about you. And so we
Out
haven't
of
seen
sight,
her
out
in
of
the
mind.
W yet. And I think to learn from somebody like Asia Wilson, I think she's in phenomenal hands, and they've got her on a rookie scale contract. So they've got plenty of time to kind of suss out if she's a good potential future for them when eventually Asia Wilson retires.
No, definitely.
I don't think
For
it's
sure.
anytime soon.
Yeah. That, of course, no, that's not going to be no time soon. Definitely. I wanted to go to college football for a second because the NCAA, and talk to the NCAA, because this whole tampering thing is getting out of hand. You got teams that are reaching out to players that are on scholarship for teams. They're not in the portal. You know, if they're in the transfer portal, I totally understand you. You have the right to go after that player. But the NCAA has to do something about this, where a player is just on a team and he's being offered money to go to other teams, no matter what time of the year it is. It's crazy to me. And the NCAA is definitely wilding. Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State's been getting buku offers. You know, obviously his coordinators left. You know, so people are going to try to reach out and, you know, try to poke the bear and things like that. Another thing is as well, they were saying like Ryan Day was getting like a taste of his own medicine with the whole tampering thing. But if you look at it, where did he tamper? If you look at Quinshawn Judkins, he was in the transfer portal. Ohio State didn't reach out to him until he was in the transfer portal. Same thing with Caleb Downs, the safety from Alabama. Nobody reached out to him. He wasn't until he was in the transfer portal. And who was the other transfer? Will Howard. Yeah, Will Howard from Kansas State, the quarterback. There was no tampering. We went after him once he was in the transfer portal. So it's just that Ohio State just had got those guys that are pieces. You know, Caleb Downs, he's going to be top 2 player in the country next year. Him and Jeremiah Smith are the best players coming back. So, for them to say it's the same, it's definitely not the same.
Yeah.
He's getting those guys out the portal, and you guys are just trying to get at guys' agents or talk to people's parents and offer money. The NCAA's got to do something about it. It's getting out of hand for sure.
College football and the NCAA are in a really, really pivotal time here because they made some major changes to their rules in the transfer portal and with name, image, likeness over the last 5 to 7 years, right? And so it's really key now that we're starting to see kind of the holes in these rules that they've created, and I think there definitely needs to be some ironing out done because it's really instrumental that we change the transfer portal rules and now guys are able to enter the portal and go play immediately somewhere else. That's huge for players. They don't have to sit out a year, they don't have to wait, they don't have to redshirt, nothing, right? And then also allowing players to get paid for their name, for use of their name, image, likeness. That's huge. And that's really important. And I'm glad that we've done that. However, the NCAA needs to iron out how those two things work in tandem because with NIL and with the transfer portal being so easy, now teams are thinking that they can go in and offer people NIL money to enter the transfer portal. And that's where you start to cross a line. And that's where
that's why I feel like
rules, and there's this huge gray area and you need to have a little bit more structure and you need to now, but it's one of those things where I feel like you don't know what the problems are going to be until they happen. And so now we're seeing them come to fruition, and now it's time for the NCAA to step in and set some boundaries and create even more change.
And don't get me wrong either. Like it's, the coaches can move and do how they want. I get that. So I don't mind the players doing it either. But There is a point where the players are kind of overdoing it as well. You're seeing so much transfers, so many transfers. I feel like there needs to be some kind of contracts involved with, especially when you're dealing with all this money that you're giving these players or something. Like there has to be some kind of loyalty to these contracts. You get all the like Quinn Ewers. He came to Ohio State literally because of the laws in Texas. He literally reclassified and came to Ohio State early just to get NIL money, just to transfer back to Texas the next year. So it's like it's needs to be some kind of loyalty when it comes to that. But it's shaky. But hopefully they'll figure it out.
That's all due to NIL.
It's crazy though.
I don't think the transfer portal would have the same issues that
No, it wouldn't.
NIL
It
didn't
wouldn't.
exist, and vice versa, right? So these
100%.
things kind of coming into fruition in tandem at the same time. We're seeing what works and what doesn't, and it's almost like the NCAA has become a mini NFL, right? Like it's becoming more and more like the NFL every day, except for there's even less loyalty because there are no contracts. So they can just go whenever they want, go wherever they want, whenever they want for whatever amount of money is being offered to them. And there's too much free reign, especially for these 18 to 22-year-olds to be making decisions like that, all in regards to money and deciding, okay, I'm going to go play here today, here tomorrow. They're offering me more money. Oh, my coach quit, so I'm going to leave, and I'm going to do, what's best for me. And so now you have all of these people in the portal all the time, and it's almost too much. People get lost in the portal and sometimes don't even get picked up.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely a lot, man. And it's just like, I'm not against players trying to get their money, because a lot of those guys don't make it to the NFL. So I totally get it, So, a lot of those guys are literally just basing their career off of that, but like, I don't know. They're going to have to definitely work something out. It's just crazy with how it is and how wild it is for sure.
Definitely stuff to iron out for the NCAA now that we're seeing.
But the tampering, they got to put a tampering rule in 100%. No, with the tampering with players that's already on teams, that's ridiculous. Reaching out to people's parents and agents, you shouldn't be allowed to do any of that. Family members, anything. You know what I mean? So, but no.
Before we get out of here, we didn't have real football this weekend, but we did have the Pro Bowl. Did you watch any of it? What did you think? What are your thoughts?
I did not watch the actual game, but I did watch a lot of the challenges. I did see some of the tug of wars. I've seen the QB challenge, the receivers hand challenge, with them putting on the big mitts and catching and all that stuff. So yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. Definitely. I think Eli beat Peyton again. He like three-peated. He was talking about his three-peat. Yeah. So yeah, no, it was good. Everybody looked like they was having a good time out there for sure.
Yeah, I think, as a consolation prize, you don't make the Super Bowl, you get to go have a little bit of fun with everybody. That's the best of the best in the league, with the exception of the people that don't go. And then you end up with people like Drake May in the Pro Bowl, which I'm not sure. He's great. I'm not sure that was earned this year. I think a lot of quarterbacks decided not to go. So we ended up with Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, and Drake May as your AFC quarterbacks. And for it being the first time that Joe decided to go to a Pro Bowl.
Where's Bo Nix at?
Surgery. He had a minor surgery that he's
I knew it had to be something because I'm like, why is Drake May?
Yeah, so I mean, crazy. I don't know if you heard, but I think Joe had a few less seconds in throwing challenge.
He did.
I don't know. Our guy Nico Collins, he just decided he wasn't going to be great.
He still came in like second place. He still came in like second place though, didn't he? In the competition to golf? No,
not quite.
Who ended up winning it? Golf, right? Golf
won. So listen. You know what? If you actually take down and you look at if they each got a minute.
You know where Nico Collins went, right? He got that good Michigan University.
If you actually looked at it and you gave each of those quarterbacks the same amount of time as Joe wins that one. So I think it's
but Nico Collins got that good.
The only one that hit all of the targets in the base amount of time. So just saying. Just saying. I think
Come on, Nico.
timing was maybe an issue. But yeah, I think Eli Manning definitely had a better game plan than his brother.
Yeah.
I think Turpin played every single snap of the Pro Bowl, and he was a monster. He was creating havoc for the AFC quarterbacks for all of them. So
yeah. I saw the spike challenge too with the big guys. I saw that too. That was decent. I can't remember who won it. It was old boy from the Jets. Who was it? I can't remember his name, but I know it was like him and Dexter Lawrence at the end, but he ended up winning. Quentin Williams, yeah.
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 I was pulling for Sexy Dexy.
Yeah, Dexy, he was surprised he lost. He thought he was gonna win, but yeah, no, Quentin Williams ended up pulling that off with the spike challenge. But you got to be accurate with it. I think they need to kind of widen the board, but because it was like a little circle.
It's supposed to be accuracy, so
yeah, linemen aren't supposed to be, but no, that's cool. But
it was a lot of fun. It was fun to watch. It was fun to tune in. It was, I think, some people had a ton of fun. Some people, the Bengals guys, decided to use that as a big platform when it comes to being very vocal about contract negotiations and who needs to be there. And I do think that's huge. And Jamar as well. I think it's a huge reason that maybe we saw Joe at the Pro Bowl for the first time. Maybe because he wanted people to ask him questions about contracts. I don't know. Just a thought. I mean, I'm not quite on. Just putting that out there.
He wants what he wants.
Just putting out there. He has made it now very, very clear a lot of times who is a priority and who, guys need to be paid and not letting, valuable guys walk out the door. So for being a Bengals fan, I think it's interesting and we should expect to hear news about Jamar and about T. Higgins and about Trey Hendrickson hopefully soon. So
yeah. Hopefully they work it all out. Somebody's going to have to take a little.
Those guys there. So
yeah, somebody take a little bit of a cut, be a team player, and they get all those contracts worked out for sure.
I do think, and I hate to say it, I do think your priority list goes Jamar, blank check for Jamar, then Trey Hendrickson, and then T. Higgins because you can get going.
I agree in that order.
And it sucks to say, and I hate saying it because I really hope that we. The Bengals can figure out a way to keep all three guys, but if
you can't get rid of Henderson, you can't let that
get rid of Trey Hendrickson. You cannot let him walk out the door.
Can't.
Jamar
plays so well.
Jamar has quite literally earned himself a blank check. Whatever you want, you got. Like he is the number one wide receiver in the NFL right now. People have questions, him, Justin Jefferson. I think every season you can kind of make a case for either one, but I think Jamar with the Triple Crown this year cemented himself for this 2024 season as the number one wide receiver, and he deserves.
No, definitely for sure. And Saquon for MVP too. I don't put that out there.
I'm telling you, I think that if he had broken the record, because the voting is done before you get to the Super Bowl, so everything he's doing right now is irrelevant in the voting, right? So when you look at Offensive Player of the Year and you look between Jamar and Saquon, when they were voting, Jamar won the Triple Crown and Saquon had not broken the record. So I do think that's interesting, and I do want people to remember that for when
definitely when it comes out.
Offensive Player of the Year, even though it's probably should have been Saquon.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
You can't ignore the Triple Crown. I don't think it got enough coverage. Like what he
I don't think the Triple Crown ever gets enough coverage as far as if a receiver does it.
Which is crazy because it's so hard to do.
Yeah, it's so hard to do. But there has been receivers that done it, but you don't see it blown up as much as it should be. It's definitely hard to do. You know what I mean?
It'll be fun. I think we get some awards next weekend, and we'll actually get the answers to these questions. Who's the MVP? Who's the Offensive Player of the Year? Why is Joe Burrow the Comeback Player of the Year?
Yeah, and also next week when we come back, we'll know who's the Super Bowl, and we'll touch on that game and all that stuff, and hopefully I won't be too messed up because that's my birthday. But no, I'll be here. Don't worry. I'll be
We
here.
might have to take a day off and regroup on a Tuesday.
I know, right? Nah. We'll keep it Monday. It's cool. I'll be ready. I won't go too crazy for sure. But no, we thank you guys for joining us on the He Said, She Said Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Big Red, along with my host, Tony. We appreciate you guys and thank you guys. And of course, it's always love and peace.